it's playing out across the country. You think about the election back in Nashville, in which a socialist candidate almost came very close to winning in the deep red state of Tennessee. There's Seattle, there's now Los Angeles, and of course New York City with Mamdani. Voters aren't necessarily embracing this form of leftism. The problem is that the Democratic base is. And because of recent coalition changes, the Democratic base is largely made up now of affluent, educated, white people who embrace the excesses of leftism in all of its most radical forms.
More evidence that all those protesters clashing with law enforcement are being paid to cause trouble. Fox News contributor Osra Nomani says foreign adversaries are funding anti-American protests to push socialism in America.
What the report by the Network Contagion Research Institute showed is that Democratic Socialists of America went on trips to China, Venezuela, Cuba, and then they parroted the messages of those adversaries. And one of them is this idea that America is a fascist state and that socialism is the answer. And they are very clear in their messaging. And other organizations like the Party for Socialism and Liberation have mirrored this language that America is a terror state.
Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky visiting the Department of Justice yesterday to review unredacted documents related to the Epstein files. This comes after lawmakers spearheaded a bipartisan effort to pass the Epstein Files Transparency Act last year. Congressman Massie speaking about the files.
Some of these files have been taken down, like the DOJ produced them, and for some reason they took them down. But those documents not only haven't been put back up on the site with the appropriate redactions, they were not available to us to search. I mean, what we're after is the men who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked women to.
A conservative columnist is urging Republican lawmakers to pull out all the stops to get the SAVE Act passed in order to make it hard for Democrats to commit vote fraud. Chad Groening has more.
Robert Nye is a columnist for the Washington Times. His latest column is entitled, GOP Should Strike While the Voter ID Iron is Hot. In it, he says the Democrats have circled the wagons in order to oppose the Save America Act, which is pending in the House.
It's probably the most important bill they could address this year because it would require proof of citizenship for voting and voter IDs for all elections. And that's what we desperately need in this country. And the proof of that is that the Democrats are fiercely fighting any laws that require voter ID, and that's to facilitate vote fraud.
But Knight says 83% of the American people support voter ID, so Republicans must be ruthless in enacting it.
Because if they don't, and the way things are going, Democrats rigging elections, and if you don't believe it, look at the gerrymandered new Virginia map, which is absurd, then our country isn't going to have a two-party system, and we're going to end up in a one-party situation like California or Illinois, which is disastrous.
I'm Chad Groening.
More news online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty P.
If we lose this cultural war, we're going to have a hedonistic, humanistic society.
Discover the story of the culture warrior Don Wildmon and how he went head-to-head with Hollywood, Playboy, the homosexual agenda, and the Disney empire. The movement Don started paved the way for Christians to boldly stand for truth and righteousness in a hostile culture. Watch Culture Warrior today for free. Visit culturewarrior.movie.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
And welcome to Today's Issues. That's the name of this here show. If you're listening for the first time, I want to welcome you and thank you. It is February the 10th, Tuesday. We are prepared to bring to you the news from a Christian perspective. And if you want to know who is we, joining me is Chris Woodward. Chris?
Good morning.
All right, and Pastor Ray?
Good morning, Wesley. How you doing today?
I'm doing super duper, probably at about 80%, because super duper comparatively speaking, because the last 2 or 3 days I've been dealing with a head cold of some kind, and I don't know what it is because I didn't go to the doctor. I waited it out, but I'm doing better.
You got the crud,
Yep,
right?
I pretty much got the crud. And you know what? I know exactly where I got it from.
Where'd you get it?
The Petri dish of Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, brother.
Friday afternoon.
Oh, brother. You can catch anything, right? You never know.
That's right. The Chuck E. Cheese, any of these places where there's kids 24/7 or a lot of kids all the time, you're likely to get some form of a head cold or sickness. But I did it anyway. It was worth the sacrifice. 2-3 days of sickness so that my kids could have a good time, and they had a good time. We did that over the weekend, but I'm on the back half of it. I don't have no clue what kind of medicine my wife Chelsea gave me yesterday at night, but I woke up a different man.
Take this. Yes, ma'am.
That's exactly that's how it went.
Don't even ask.
Yeah.
Just take it.
And I'm pretty sure as it was going down, she said, I think this is out of date by about a year. And I was like,
y'all
you know
have
what?
that too?
Yeah. But it worked, whatever it was. Hey, Pastor Ray, thank you for being on with us. Thank you, Chris. Here in just a little bit, we're going to have Dr. Frank Turek, who's the host of I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. Looking forward to having him on. But yeah, as I'm recovering from that, I know that's where I got it from, I'm pretty sure. But there is some pretty significant changes in the weather. I mean, it was just a week and a half ago, Chris, that we had a ice storm, maybe 10 days ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's
75 degrees here in Tupelo.
Yeah, and for people not familiar with Mississippi, if you've yet to have your dream vacation to the Magnolia State, this is not abnormal for us. We do have like cold, extreme cold, and then we have really warm. Usually there's a tornado in there somewhere, maybe another ice storm.
Mm-hmm.
So it will... we're weather whiplash. Pretty much, we're at that period in the year where you need to dress for about 3 seasons just for one day of work.
So you come in with the coat and you leave so you wear, for example, today I did exactly what you just suggested. I came in with the coat, but underneath I had a collared polo, short sleeve.
I do that.
And now I'm in my collared short sleeve polo. What's it looking like there where you are, Pastor Ray?
It has been chilly here in Central Florida. That was But the storm that came through Mississippi, we got the tail end of it down here in Florida. So it was nothing like what happened in northern Mississippi, but we got it. Now, today, I'm looking outside. Guys, it's bright, sunny, blue skies here in Central Florida. I think we're going to be up around 70 degrees. So
yeah.
Not too bad for February.
I do have some good news to report from our storm issues here in Mississippi. Just in Mississippi alone, like last week, we had tens of thousands of people without power. Praise God, we're down to about 8,000 people today in Mississippi.
That's a great report.
Fantastic.
God bless the linemen out there and their families that have not seen them in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, there's been a lot of hardworking men and women who have gone through, specifically talking about Mississippi. I'm sure this is the case in other states where they have worked night and day, 12, 14-hour days. Now the weather's looking better now, but there was a week there where they were working and it was in the 20s throughout the day. So thank you for all those that have worked hard to get our power back going in Mississippi. Now my dad, Tim Wildmon, will be joining us here later on in the program. He is out right now, but he'll be joining us. Just wanted to add that in there. So Chris, what do we have? What's the first story? Do we have time to get to a story before we have Dr. Frank on?
We do. I can mention this one briefly here. There is a congressman by the name of Andy Ogles. He's a Republican from Tennessee, and he has called for a formal congressional inquiry into Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime performance. Representative Ogles is accusing the show of featuring, quote, explicit and indecent content. If you go back and translate what Bad Bunny had to say in Spanish, there were some words in there that Congressman Ogles does not think should be used on the airwaves. He also didn't like some of the suggestive imagery and stuff like that during the halftime show. So even though the game may have been played, we know who the winner is, people are still talking about Bad Bunny's halftime show. And this congressman wants the FCC to look into things and really consider holding the NFL and NBC, which broadcast the Super Bowl, hold them accountable.
Yeah, Ray, I mean, I didn't think about that at the time, and the reason is because I couldn't understand what he was saying.
Right.
I couldn't make out what he was saying.
It was all in Spanish.
That's right. But now after the fact, now that we have this translated, I mean, I know this, and I know that decency, by and large, has been lost in our culture, especially in the form of entertainment. And unfortunately, 10 or 15 years ago, what you would expect a PG or a PG version halftime show because there's families around, and that was a consideration. Unfortunately, we've lost a lot of that. But by technicality, Ray, or by the rules, I mean they were broken. So, what's your thoughts?
Well, yeah, they were broken. Now, Wesley, I don't think this is really going to go anywhere because once you start down this road, you'd almost have to backdate it to get most of the performers of the last 20 years.
That's right.
I don't know. First of all, I don't speak Spanish, so I can only look at the translation, and some of it is truly appalling.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll state that right up front. But was Bad Bunny, was he objectively worse than Kendrick Lamar and these other people they've had over the past 10 or 15 years? I'm not sure. Now maybe, Wesley, maybe that didn't really say anything good about me. Maybe it's true that we've all become coarsened to some degree in our culture. Reminds me of what Dr. Billy Graham used to say, that the problem in America, he said, is that today we've become so coarsened that we routinely laugh at things that used to make us blush 50 years ago. I imagine I might say it this way, our problem with Bad Bunny is we hear it, we don't understand it, and even when we read the words, we're not really surprised about it. I don't see how this
goes anywhere.
I don't see how it goes anywhere.
Yeah, I don't either. For me, actually, I had, even now knowing the lyrics, that's a problem. But the bigger problem I had was them inviting. I'm not surprised, and I'm not surprised that inviting someone who is controversial that may use explicit stuff. Because they've been doing, like as you've pointed out, they've been doing that for a couple of years. The problem I have is his anti-American views and his anti-ICE views and his those issues were far more concerning to allow him to perform at an American sporting event. So that was as much frustrating. Chris, you got anything else on that before we go to Frank?
Well, I mean, I'm getting to the point where, I've covered criticisms of Super Bowl halftime shows for a long time now. I am getting to the point of just don't have anybody perform at the halftime show and do something different. Pluck 5-6 people out of the stands and have them compete in like a punt, pass, kick, something. And if they win, they get to sit in Roger Goodell's sweet something. Make it a Willy Wonka golden ticket type experience for some lucky fan.
Now, that would be entertaining.
Or do a 10-minute pre-polished package highlighting, this year's Walter Payton Award recipient, the person that does good in the community and stuff like that. Something feel good nobody's going to complain about.
It would be cool to see some mini games on the field with some fans from the stadium competing and having a little fun there. You say like at the basketball games, you see them shoot the half-court shots and then do that kind of thing.
There's some out-of-shape 45-year-old guy with a dad bod who's reliving the glory days from his 10th year of sophomore rivalry game football that's going to get out there and try to show out. Come on.
That would be fun. I like to see that. Well, all right. Well, going to our first guest for today, Dr. Frank Turek. Dr. Frank Turek is the host of I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist, heard Saturdays at 9 a.m. Central Time and again on Sunday at 4 p.m. Central Time on American Family Radio. Dr. Frankie, thank you for joining us. And what in the world would you like to see for a halftime show for next year's NFL Super Bowl?
Actually, I'm not as concerned with the halftime show as I am for a more entertaining game.
Yes. Amen.
I mean, defense wins championships, but sometimes defense is boring. And we all admit that.
Yeah. You're right. I get it, but I'm a real big sports fan, and so I do have a great appreciation for the finer details and knowing what it takes to win, and a defense is a big deal. But to your point, the majority of people that are watching for the big plays on offense in a high-scoring game, which is honestly that's what a lot of the college football in the West Coast went to, high-scoring games and a lot of turnovers. But anyways, well, Frank, so you don't have a preference. If you got to sit down with Roger Goodell and you got to say, here's what we're going to do for next year, and you don't care what other people think. You don't have an opinion.
Well, I certainly don't like what they're doing recently
Well,
with all this anti-American nonsense. And somebody said that on the internet that show made support for ICE go up 20 points. Because it was like a foreign show. Now, I didn't watch the thing. I just heard about it. I was over at the TPUSA show.
Well, they did great there. They had over 10 million views.
Yeah, and perhaps even more than that.
That's right.
I think that just people, first of all, one of the things about sports that people like is it's not political.
Thank you. Yes.
It's just. Can we come together for 3 hours as a nation and just enjoy competition?
Yeah.
Without having to make all these political. It's like the Grammys. Why are the Grammys political?
Right.
And what was said there was completely inane from a woman who's living in a multi-million-dollar home on stolen land. First of all, for land to be stolen, there has to be borders. Otherwise, you wouldn't know whether the land was stolen or not. And we have borders. And every nation has borders, and every home has borders. It's called a lock. And we believe in all that, not because we hate people on the outside. It's because we love people on the inside.
Yeah.
And it's the reason you can have a civilization is when you can protect your property, your private property, and you can have a community. And you won't have a community, a common unity, unless you have shared values. And you're not going to have shared values if a bunch of jihadis come into this country and want to implement Sharia law on the nation. That's not shared values. That's a contradiction to the United States Constitution. And yet some people actually think, well, that's okay. Everything's going to turn out fine. No, look at 1,400 years of history. You're not going to find the kind of freedoms we have in America in, say, Saudi Arabia or Iran or China or Iraq, or name countries that either are communist or Muslim. You're not going to find the kind of freedoms we have here. So why do we think you can just let everybody in and there's not going to be a problem? There's going to be a problem. History shows that. Common sense shows that.
Yeah, if you look back over the last 20 years, almost everything that used to be non-political or have a political bent they're being forced to be political, and it started with the LGBTQ movement, and you had to wear a rainbow. If you didn't have a rainbow, then you were anti, and therefore, as opposed to just playing baseball. And then, of course, during the George Floyd movement, it was to defund the police, and they would wear the pigs on the helmets and things like that, taking a knee and all that. It would be a dream in the coming years to get sports and just the corporate world to just go back to making good products, putting out good sports, because being able to go to a sporting event to take your mind off politics and not know what side of the aisle the person to your left on, but just cheering on for your team.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
I would pay extra money if I could get a streaming service platform option where there's no announcers in a game. It's just the camera and the game.
Yeah. Well, all right. We got Tim has joined us here. He's our special guest for today.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Good
morning, everybody.
Who was before Tom Brady?
Who was before Tom Brady?
The quarterback.
Drew Bledsoe.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah.
He didn't show up for work one day.
Yeah, well, he got hurt and he never got his job back.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That can happen.
I'm not taking your job here. That was the analogy I was going with.
All right. Well, anyway, it is.
We got to get to the topic.
Yes. So, Ray, how you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing good, Tim. How you getting on?
I know. Well, I went to the doctor. That's why I'm late.
Yeah.
So I had
You got a doctor's excuse?
Well, here it is. You gonna see it? Got a written doctor's excuse.
Written doctor's.
Frank, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. But Allison told me she doesn't take you to the doctor anymore. You're so old, she takes you to the archaeologist.
Bada boom.
Ray's gonna be joining J.J. Jasper tomorrow morning.
Had an annual physical, so everybody should have an annual physical, right, Ray?
Hey, everything work out okay? Everything
the doctor
good?
told me everything's good. The blood's, I have blood. And
got blood? That's
he
good.
did say it's really important that you tell your wife that you need to golf more. And it helps your stress level come down.
Doctor's orders.
Yeah, so I'm
the way you golf.
Let's see. The way I golf, stress goes up.
Tim,
But,
my doctor told me to work. If I worked out for 6 weeks in a row, I could add 15 years to my life. And he's right. I worked out for 6 weeks in a row, and I already feel 15 years older.
All right, you're listening to the radio program Today's Issues on American Family Radio. Thanks to Wesley for taking over the captainship here while I was out for a few minutes. Chris Woodward, good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
All right, I wasn't going to ask you about this, Frank.
Uh-oh.
It's dangerous territory, I guess, in some respects. But I got to ask you, Wesley, you listened to your 2-hour podcast with Kirk Cameron?
His was 1 hour. Kirk Cameron's was 2 hours, so total of 3.
Okay, so you listened to that. So you interviewed Kirk Cameron?
I did, just last week, yeah.
Okay, and the topic was the
issue of hell.
About hell, and what was
Right.
it? What was the topic?
The nature of hell. You know, there's two major views among evangelicals. You know, the traditional eternal conscious torment view, and another view that even some early church fathers may have adopted called the conditionalist view, where there's a period of suffering, a period of punishment, and then you're annihilated, so you're no more. Those are the two major views.
So why did you? When I saw Kirk make those comments, and I like Kirk very much. He's a good friend of mine. But I wonder, why are you even talking about this? Because there's so many issues and topics to talk about. Why you want to dive into that one and split up your listenership, so to speak, on their views on this? Did you ask him about?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, well, he said it arose from a question that his son had. I guess once a week he does a Q&A with his son, who brings up any topic he wants to bring up. And so that's why he began to talk about it. You know, it is a topic that's been discussed of late. There have been some rather prominent evangelical scholars that have believed in the conditionalist view in the past 100 years, people like F.F. Bruce and John Stott. So there's a few. But still, the main view is the eternal conscious torment view. And my point to Kirk was, if you think that somehow the eternal conscious torment view is somehow unloving or unjust, I don't think you understand it. And secondly, I don't think you understand that God can be just and will be just because he's infinitely just. And nobody in heaven or hell is going to be treated unfairly. If you go to hell, you're going to get the precise level of punishment you deserve because God is perfectly just. If you go to heaven, you're getting grace. You don't deserve that. Christ has earned that for you. But those are the only two things you can get in the afterlife. You can either get grace or you can get justice. Right. And I always ask people, do you want justice from an infinitely just being? I don't. If I got justice, I'd be toast. So the reason Christ came was to save us from the justice we deserve, and he gives us grace. And whether that's eternal conscious torment when it comes to justice or annihilationism after a period of punishment, whatever it is, it's going to be just. Now, I personally think the eternal conscious torment view is the correct view. I think Scripture supports that, although some try and make a case that the annihilationist view is the correct view, and there are verses you could read that way, but I think overall the eternal conscious torment view is true.
Ray, have you ever dived into this one?
I've done some thinking about it, and Frank, I wanted to ask you, as far as Kirk is concerned, do you think he has, quote, abandoned eternal conscious torment, or is this a case of a man just merely, in answering the question of his son, is he just investigating the other possibilities?
He says he's leaning in that direction now, the annihilationist view. And there is a website, Rethinking Hell, that Chris Date is the host of that website. He was one of the 4 scholars on with Kirk when they did that 2.5-hour discussion on hell. And my discussion with Kirk came after that. So, I mean, to be fair, you can make an argument. I don't think it works though, but you can make it. It's not like totally out of the blue. Like, wow, there's no way you could interpret the scriptures this way. You could make an argument the annihilationist view or the conditionalist view is plausible. I just don't think it works. I think there are too many verses that you can't really get around and say, oh no, like Revelation 14 or Revelation 20 or Matthew 25, where Jesus uses the same word eternal for punishment as he does for eternal life.
Go ahead, Wesley.
Hey, well, I'll just add this, and then to help us transition to another topic.
Well, I have another question.
You got it? Okay.
Well, are you transitioning now?
Yeah. So you go ahead. If you got a question on this topic,
I do.
You go ahead.
Okay. So my question, and I didn't listen. I saw some and read some of the between Kirk and his son, but that's what triggered all this, right?
Yeah.
So the question that I've always had, that I'm not the first to have it because millions have had it, and Ray or Frank, you can be first here, is what about the people who never hear the gospel? What happens to them?
Yeah, well, again, God is going to be just regardless of whether or not we can figure that out. I think that nobody comes to Christ, or nobody comes to God without Christ. Whether you have to know the name of Christ is another question. Obviously, in the Old Testament, they didn't, and they were saved. They put their faith in Yahweh. The New Testament appears to say you do need to know the name of Christ. And Paul points out in Acts 17 that God has essentially created people where they need to be so that people would find God and worship him if they want to. And it could be, I mean, we all know people that hear the gospel and don't believe it, right? I mean, they're everywhere. It could be that those that never hear the gospel wouldn't have believed it even if they had heard it. And that's what could be the case from Acts 17. Ray, do you want to jump in on that?
Look, let me just reemphasize, Frank, what you started with. Nobody's going to be in hell by mistake. It's not like going to be computer files and what? He's down there. He's supposed to be up here in heaven. No. Everybody who ends up in hell is they're there because that's where they belong. They don't belong in heaven at all. Nobody goes to heaven by mistake, only by the grace of God. Nobody goes to hell by mistake. And I find, Frank, great comfort in that thought that God is just. It reminds me in that argument that Abraham has with the Lord, will you save Sodom and Gomorrah? Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? If we believe that, some of these questions we're not going to figure out completely until we stand before the Lord.
Yeah. Well, all right. We'll take our break right here.
Well, let me say this.
Go ahead.
What Frank did with Kirk Cameron in his interview was a phenomenal example of how to have a discussion on something you may disagree with. And I think it's worth listening just for that alone, in addition to the topic. The topic was good, but the way that you handle another brother in Christ you may disagree with was a good. It was good. Frank, you were a great example there.
Thanks. Hey, let me mention one thing. I'll be at Elon University today.
Hey, hold on. Can you hold on through the break instead of rushing this? Because this podcast where you talk to Kirk Cameron is available on our website, right, Wesley?
That's right, afr.net.
So we get credit for it.
That's right.
So we want the credit for the podcast downloads.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so where do they go to listen?
Go to afr.net, or go to crossexamine.org. And we got to mention something else that Frank's doing after the break.
So you go to afr.net, click on podcast, and click on Frank's. Frank, hold on.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildmon.
There is in modern Jericho a sycamore tree. Each time I visit Jericho and view the tree, I remember an event which happened in another Jericho a little farther down the road nearly 2,000 years ago. There was a man short in physical stature in that Jericho by the name of Zacchaeus. One day he climbed a sycamore tree to see a traveling preacher who was to pass through the city. He tried to get a position along the roadside, but the crowd kept pushing him back. To solve the situation, he climbed a sycamore tree. This Zacchaeus was a publican. Now, he wasn't a republican, but a publican. There is a difference. A publican was the title given tax collectors in those days. Tax collectors were hated men in Palestine. For the tax collector was a person who worked with those who had captured and were ruling the country. They were men who, more often than not, used dishonest methods to collect more than they should. But tax collectors were rich men. Why did Zacchaeus wish to see this Galilean? What prompted him, a man of his position, to climb a tree to get a view of a traveling preacher? Well, I feel there were two motives behind his actions. First of all, Zacchaeus was not liked by his fellow Jews. Other people had nothing to do with Zacchaeus. They excluded him from their ranks. He was not one of them. He was scorned, despised, and rejected by his own people. When Zacchaeus decided to go into the tax collecting business, he knew this would be the case. But he was prepared to face the consequences. The large amount of money he would make would be worth the loss of friendship from others. So Zacchaeus was not liked by his own people. So he climbed a tree, so he wouldn't have to mix and mingle with them. But I feel the other motive behind his climbing that tree was more important. Zacchaeus had finally discovered that he didn't like himself. The more Zacchaeus got of what he liked, the less he liked of what he got. A man can live even when no one else likes him, but meaning goes out of life if a person doesn't like himself. Zacchaeus once thought that money was everything, but like Midas in the story of old, he soon learned that the theory of riches bringing happiness was an illusion. When that preacher passed by Zacchaeus, a wonderful thing happened. Zacchaeus found a friend in him. He found someone who liked him despite what he was and had been. And it wasn't long before Zacchaeus began to like himself again. One of his first acts was to give away great sums of the money he had coveted before he had met that man. What can this Christ do for us? One thing he can do is to set us on the road toward liking ourselves again. And you would be surprised at the number of our problems which that simple act will help solve. To most folks, a sycamore tree has no special significance. But to Zacchaeus, it was the most important tree in the world.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildmon, a production of the American Family Association.
Beloved, we are now children of God, and what we will be has not yet been revealed. We know that when Christ appears, we will be like him, for we will see him as he is. And everyone who has this hope in him purifies himself just as Christ is pure. 1 John 3, 2 and 3.
American Family Radio. This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Wesley, Chris, and Ray. And we're going to wrap up our conversation now with Dr. Frank Turek. You can hear his conversation with Kirk Cameron on the topic of hell on our website, afr.net. afr.net. Click on the podcast with Dr. Frank Turek, the I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist podcast, and you can check it out there. Your college campus tour 2026 begins when?
Yeah, it begins tonight at Elon University here in North Carolina. Then we have NC State the next night, Wednesday night, and then Thursday night we're down at Northern Florida University, or University of Northern Florida, or North Florida. It's in Jacksonville, and some of those are sold out, but it'll be broadcast on our YouTube channel, the Cross-Examined YouTube channel.
Okay.
Cross-Examined, so people can see it there. And
awesome.
I have a lot of time for Q&A, so anyone can show up and ask a question.
Will Elon be there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not his school. My bad.
No, that's before him.
Okay, my bad.
That school is before him.
Well, I thought maybe you were going to go to the moon or something and do it there.
Hey, those that are listening, y'all pray for Frank Turek and all those that like him that travel across the country and
debating on college campuses.
Yep. Pray for them. Pray for all of them.
Way to get out there and mix it up with people and share the gospel of Christ with as many people as you can. And sure. Frank uses his, the I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist platform there to discuss with kids, young people, whether or not there is a God. Start there and then move forward. All right, Frank, take care, safe travels, and we will talk to you next week, hopefully.
Thanks, brother. See you.
Great to see you.
All right, bye.
All right, that's Dr. Frank Turek, Turek. You're listening to Today's Issues on American Family Radio. Ray, give us, I usually ask you this, not always, but give us a good word from the Scripture this morning, then we want to move on to these topics we got to discuss.
The Bible says in Philippians 4:19, "But our God will supply all your need according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus." When we hear that verse, we usually apply it to the question of giving, that if we are generous in God's service, he will, God's going to be no man's debtor. He's going to take care of us in every way. I got to tell you, Tim, and just a little snippet of life here. For our ministry, Keep Believing, and you're on the board of reference of our ministry, we've been around 20 years, and we've had the same man, Dave Hoy, on the he's been the chairman of our ministry, Keep Believing, for the whole 20 years. In fact, for 10 years before that, he was the chairman of the elder board where I pastored, Calvary Memorial Church. So for 30 years, Dave was always the chairman of the elders or chairman of the board. About 10 years ago, he came down with kidney cancer, fought the great good fight of faith, persevered to the very end, lived a lot longer than the doctors expected. They maybe 5 years, they said 6. He got 10, and died just early in January. And because Dave was such a dear friend, Marlene and I flew up to Chicago to do his funeral service. And the night before Dave's funeral, his wife Lynette, at my request, loaned me his personal Bible. And I just want to say, for years I've been preaching from iPads, like a lot of guys do nowadays. But there is something beautiful, Tim, about reading the Bible of a brother or sister who is now in heaven, particularly someone who liked to write in the margins, because they leave a legacy there. So the night before Dave's funeral service, I was looking through one of his Bibles. In fact, it was from probably 45 years ago. And Dave loved to make Bible study notes. I started in Genesis, and I was turning through there. And most of it was like Abraham was such and such an age, or Moses, the man of faith. It was just maybe Bible study notes, but he'd covered the Bible with it. So I got into the New Testament and Gospels and Acts and a lot of notes. And finally, I discovered the night before his funeral that maybe Philippians was his favorite book in the whole Bible, because he had written so many notes about the book of Philippians. I was looking for something I could use in his funeral message. So it's late on that night, and I come to Philippians 4, and there's the verse, "For my God will supply all your needs according to his riches and glory in Christ Jesus." And in this one case, in great big letters, he had written this sentence, and it said, "What we need will not always be what we want." Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. My friends, you go a long way, and you will not find a deeper, more powerful statement of the sovereignty of God. What we truly need may not be exactly what we want. And I'll say this, Dave didn't want cancer. He fought against it and fought the good fight all the way through. But in the end, cancer was the vehicle that God used to take my dear friend all the way home from earth to heaven. God knows what he's doing, friends. What we need and what we want are often not the same thing. Take heart. All is well. God is good. He will give us what we need, even if it isn't exactly what we want, because he is committed to making us like his son, the Lord Jesus Christ. That's what my friend Dave Hoy believed, because that's what the Bible teaches. All is well, friends. God is good. Even in the hardest moments, we can trust him.
So what you're saying is keep believing.
Keep believing. That's right. Thank you. Thank you. That's a short version of that long story.
Yeah,
Keep
that's right.
believing.
What you're saying is keep believing. That's Ray's ministry, folks. If you don't know, it's Keep Believing. You can visit him at keepbelieving.com. Tim, Wesley, Chris, and Ray. All right, Chris, what's our first news story today?
All right, so there has been a debate for days, if not weeks now, over federal legislation, a proposal called the SAVE Act, and this would require people to do a couple of things. Number one, prove they're a citizen in order to be able to vote, but more importantly, get and show an ID in order to vote. Democrats, including Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, say the SAVE Act is wrong, it's racist, because to hear Chuck Schumer say it, minorities can't get or they don't know how to get an ID, which I'll get to in a moment. But I bring all this up because there's a Republican congressman from Wisconsin. His name is Brian Stile, and Congressman Stile is now saying, you know what, let's just do something where everybody gets a free government ID in order to vote. He says, quote, if there's an individual who doesn't have an ID, there 100% needs to be a mechanism for that person to get an ID without a charge. Some states have already done this, Tim. For example, Florida, Georgia even, some of the places that have done election reform since 2020 have put language in place to where somebody would get an ID, but I can't speak to every state that's gone down that road.
Well, the way I look at it, if you're not for providing a photo ID of your citizenship in order to vote, then you're for cheating. I don't know how else.
That's the fact.
I don't know. There's no really other way to say it. Everybody can get a government issued ID, and I agree with the congressman there saying that if you say, well, I can't afford it, then we'll give it to you for free because our republic is that important. Mm-hmm. We should not have a situation where people get to vote and they don't have to identify themselves, because you have to have an ID to drive. You have to have a driver's license. Nobody says if you don't get a driver's license, you're a racist. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is how insane this argument is.
Sure.
And then you got to have a license. You got to have an ID to get a library.
You get a ticket. They write you a ticket if you don't have a driver's license.
Right.
And there's a consequence. It's a penalty.
That's right. It's a penalty.
You have to pay it.
That's right. And you got to have an ID to get on an airplane. You got to have an ID to do a lot of things in this country. And there's nothing racist. This is completely silly. Chuck Schumer, the Democrat leader in the Senate, called the SAVE Act, which is this federal legislation that's been passed in the House.
Safeguard American voter eligibility.
Okay, that's the full name of it. But it basically says you need to provide an ID in order to vote in federal elections. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he called it Jim Crow 2.
That's their thing.
I mean, you just want to just.
I
want to slap him.
Yeah, and even some black people.
I think that would be unproductive.
Christian.
Yes. What now?
Even some members of the African American community or black community don't agree with Democrats making these kinds of claims. They think it's hurtful or wrong for them to insist that black people don't know how to get an ID. Case in point, Steve has spliced together a couple of things here in about a minute-long video. It's going to begin with Chuck Schumer, and then it's going to end with a black woman who takes offense to Schumer and others making these frequent claims. Clip 5.
The SAVE Act is nothing more than Jim Crow 2.0. If you're one of tens of millions of Americans who does not have access to your birth certificate, or if you're one of the 50% of Americans who don't have a passport, the SAVE Act could make it impossible for you to participate in elections.
Yeah.
Why did I wake up to so much controversy about voter ID? We still got the left out here being just as racist as the day is long, talking about black people. We don't know where the DMV is. How did you spell DMV? Stop it. Stop it, lefties, liberals, Democrats. Stop using us as your poster child for all things to get votes. Why are you saying that we do not need voter ID laws because of the black people? Quit putting it on us. Y'all want votes in the most illegal of ways. That's all it is. But you want to keep using us as your poster children to get them. And I suggest you stop.
Yeah.
Hey,
mic drop.
What she said.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? Do you know another place that you needed to show ID to enter in recent years was none other than the Democratic National Convention. You had to show an ID to get into that.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
wrong to do that to a voter.
Yeah, it's just okay. What people like Chuck Schumer want, they want people to vote willy-nilly and without ID because that means more people will vote for Democrats and they'll steal more elections.
Yes.
Can I say it any more plainly than that?
Hate never dies because a politician won't let it. And this is proof.
Boom.
Yeah. Anyway, but the situation is this, folks. The SAVE Act, which we're talking about here, passed in the House of Representatives, barely, I think, because the Republicans have a very narrow margin. And now it's in the Senate. And the Senate is they have the filibuster, which I don't want to go into all the details of that, but you have to have over 60 votes to be able to overcome that. And right now, the Republicans don't have that many votes lined up. But there are even some Democrats, some, not all, there are even some Democrats who advocate for non-citizens to be able to vote in elections.
Yeah.
Have you seen this movement?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
These far lefties, listen, the liberals are bad enough with their politics, but these far lefties, they're on another planet.
Yeah, they think, felons.
They're the people who say stolen land. We're on stolen land. Why? While they live in million-dollar mansions, multi-million-dollar mansions that are gated, and they have private security while they live on stolen land. It's just complete and total hypocrisy.
Yep.
All right, you're listening to Today's Issues. We will keep you posted on the SAVE Act. We need
to tell people, though.
Tell people.
Yeah, we have an action alert on this. We have an action alert on this. Go to afa.net. AFA.net. We have taken the time, our staff here at AFA, of writing up a short email that can be sent to your elected official. Go to afa.net, click the tab Activism, and there you can send an email that's already pre-typed up. Obviously, if you agree with it, which if you're going there, you will. You want to go there, type in your email, and you can send it by it's 2 clicks, and you can.
Yeah, it's very easy to do.
Very easy to do. And that's our action alert on this issue. If you want to support the SAVE Act,
it's an email action alert that Wesley's talking about. And how can the people go and participate?
AFA.net, hit the tab Activism. There you can hit forward and send it over to your representative. It's the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, SAVE Act.
And make a difference on this issue.
That's right.
At least try. All right, you're listening to Today's Issues on AFR. Tim, Wesley, Chris, and Ray. Next topic.
All right, the House Ways and Means Committee is holding a hearing today to look into claims that foreign actors may be secretly influencing U.S. nonprofit organizations.
Like British actors? Or?
Foreign.
How do they? Oh, you're talking about like people.
Correct.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like Academy Award type things.
Right.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. Start over again now.
Okay. The House Ways and Means Committee is holding a hearing today to look into claims that foreign actors may be secretly influencing U.S. nonprofits. There's a report out there alleging, for example, that the group Democratic Socialists of America has foreign ties, and they're working to undermine federal authorities under the guise of protests, saying they found the DSA's rhetoric matches the anti-U.S. propaganda of foreign adversaries. Somebody that was on television this morning talking about this is a lady that we've had on this show several times. She Van Fleet, our friend from the Mid-Atlantic states. She is a survivor of Mao's revolution, and she said foreign adversaries, namely China, are behind the push toward socialism in the U.S. Clip 1.
Yes, absolutely. You see it everywhere. And then the recent thing is what's trending is called China Maxim. Even though it's basically, you see it on the TikTok, but I also see it on X. And that is absolutely bears the hallmark of CCP's publicity department and United Front Work Department operations. The first one is about propaganda. The second one is about influence. And influence work is something that CCP is expert of. They will capture the elite. In this case, they capture a lot of the influencers in social media, especially in TikTok. And most of the people who are influenced have no idea that they are the target. And some, of course, they do because they get paid handsome.
So basically, she was saying that China is a foreign actor, meaning they're doing things from abroad to trying
to influence our politics by causing strife and division and funding organizations that promote communism. Basically, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Next story.
Okay. Today is Don't Tread on Parents' Day in Virginia.
What?
Yes.
Are you being treaded on?
No.
Chris?
Well, I'm
You're
not.
a parent.
No, because I don't live in Virginia, but I'm going somewhere with this.
So who's doing this?
I missed this in the story prep time.
It's called Don't Tread on Parents' Day. The idea comes from our friends at the Family Foundation of Virginia, Victoria Cobb's group, and it's in response to anti-parental rights bills that are in the legislature there in Richmond. Someone I spoke to about Don't Tread on Parents' Day is Candy Cushman, one of the higher-ups at Family Foundation of Virginia. She gave me a couple of examples here. There's a bill proposed that directly attacks private and faith-based schools. It basically attempted to regulate them out of existence by saying that if certain students have scholarships at these schools, then all of a sudden the schools have to follow public school standards of learning, and then they have to follow all these gobbledygook non-discrimination SOGI, sexual orientation, gender identity stuff. They're basically trying to make private and religious schools do the same thing as a public school, which is something a number of parents don't want because that's why they have their kid going to a private school or a religious school. There's also stuff that really cracks down on school boards, frowning on books in libraries, things like Gender, Queer, and other books that have popped up there. So in response to this, Don't Tread on Parents' Day is something that the Family Foundation is doing.
Of Virginia.
Yes, the Family Foundation of Virginia is doing to bring out parents and students that are impacted by these bills to show lawmakers what you're doing is wrong. Now, in this soundbite that I've got from Candy Cushman at the Family Foundation of Virginia, she said, parents in other states, you need to pay attention because what is going to happen in Richmond is going to end up in your state legislature. It's a matter of time. Clip 3.
I worked for many years on education policy, and people would assume because I'm in a rural district or I'm out here, it's not going to impact me. And sadly, a lot of times they don't get involved till it's their child, till their family's feeling the hurt with that. But you don't want to wait till that moment. Watch what's happening in your legislative session and speak up to your legislative officials, your elected officials. Your voice does matter, and it does have an impact.
All right, they had a new the election went all Democrats in Virginia, and they're having whiplash there between the previous administration, Youngkin.
Yeah.
And now Spamberger, is that her name?
And it's not because people didn't like Youngkin and his politics. He is bound by language in law there that doesn't allow any governor, to run for consecutive terms.
Oh, okay.
So Spanberger's going to have to step aside.
Yeah, you only get one term in Virginia to be governor, or the other statewide offices.
He can run again at some point in the future, but most don't.
Okay.
Yeah. What were you going to ask?
Well, I just that's interesting that you can only search.
I don't know anywhere else where that. Maybe there are other states. Ray, are you familiar with this at all? Are there other
This
states?
is the only state I know where you can only serve for one term. It'd be good if California had that rule.
Yeah, that's right. I'm trying
And
to think.
Illinois.
I was processing the pros and cons here, right? Of what the good and the bad, and in this case, if it's applied in.
Well, I agree with two terms for a governor or a president. If you are allowed, I know people would say, well, if they're doing a good job, they should be allowed to be elected a third term or a fourth term. I would say that you I think the wisdom of holding it to two 4-year terms. And we do this for the president for the same reason, is so they don't accumulate so much power that they can't be, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
If you're in the office that much, so that's the idea, is
of the
to
two,
prevent people from getting too much power.
That makes the most sense.
But one term is, man, you just
getting started.
You're just getting started. So, all right, you're listening to today's issues. That goes back to at least on the federal level, goes back to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, right? You remember? I know you weren't alive during his presidency, but
no.
But he was into his fourth term.
That's right.
When he was when he died, right?
Right. Then they passed that. They passed that amendment that could never happen again.
Yeah, FDR was on his fourth term. Think about that. So 12 years, 13, 14, whatever it was. he was into that. So after that, they said, this is not a good idea to have one man be the president for more than 2 terms.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I think term limits would be a good idea. It's never going to happen, I don't think, but I think term limits would be a good idea on a federal level because for the same reason. Incumbency carries with it so many advantages. It's hard to beat an incumbent, regardless of how bad or good that they are. But I think I would advocate for like 12 years, 2 Senate terms, and then that would be 6 House terms, 6 years, because they have 2-year terms. I think that'd be plenty for anybody to build up power.
What's your opinion on the Supreme Court? Would you?
Supreme
there,
Court,
3 terms?
if they're liberal, I don't think they should get any terms. I think they
it.
all should be conservative, 9-0, and serve lifetime appointments.
No, what do you think about the lifetime appointments?
Lifetime appointments, you got to remember when this was started, people lived to be in their 40s.
Right, sure.
Okay, I'm not sure what the year was, but I think this goes back to our founding fathers.
It does.
And the Constitution, when the Constitution was drafted. But the idea of lifetime appointments for federal judges, including Supreme Court justices, I think is a good idea in the sense that you don't want judges to be affected by politics. So that if they're going to have to be reappointed every 4 or 6 years, they're going to be very what word am I looking for? Susceptible to political influences, which you don't want with your judges.
Sure.
Okay, does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's not a perfect system,
no.
But I do think lifetime appointments are now. If you wanted to go back and say until they're 70. Something I don't know if that'll ever happen. I think 70 years old would be a reasonable age. You can impeach a federal judge if you want to know is there a way to get rid of them if they're really, really bad. But that never happens. It rarely happens. I think we had a federal judge impeached because by impeached I mean taken off the bench because of bribery.
Mm-hmm. You'd have to 2010.
It would have to be. You'd have to be involved in some serious crime yourself to get taken off the bench by an impeachment by the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're just about out of time here. Wesley, you want to tell folks how they can go to our podcast numbers are going through the roof, and we want them to go, up to the sky. How do we do that?
Want to break the ceiling.
We want to go through. We've already gone through the roof.
We're on the roof. Okay.
We want to go through to the clouds.
Then we want to go to the clouds.
We want our podcast numbers to go to infinity and beyond.
Okay, that's better. The clouds, you may confuse people because that's actually an IT term, cloud.
That's true.
All right. So go to afr.net. Go to afr.net. That's the best way. You can click podcasts at the top. You can go back and listen to any podcasts. They're all archived, as well as we have some extra podcasts that are not played on our radio network that are only found at afr.net, such as American Providential History with Steve McDowell, On Demand with Jenna Ellis and Sandy Rios, 24/7 are 3 of the few podcasts that you can't get unless you go to afr.net.
We'll be back in a minute. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
Where can you access instruction and inspiration from scholars, apologists, authors, preachers, and activists to deepen your Christian understanding? You could enroll in seminary, but a better way might be the AFA Cultural Institute. You'll find a collection of more than 50 informative inspirational video lectures with more to come. Visit stream.afa.net to experience the AFA Cultural Institute.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. Executives from multiple cell phone companies are testifying before the Senate today, answering questions about a probe involving Republican senators. Chad Pergram has more.
Republicans want to know how Jack Smith dialed up the phone records of 9 GOP lawmakers, 1 House member, 9 senators. Smith was investigating if President Trump tried to subvert the 2020 election. Smith did not access what was said on the calls. He only requested data showing who was talking to the president around January 6, 2020. Democrats say the tactic is justified when conducting an investigation like this one. But Republicans ripped Smith when he testified to a House panel last month. They believe it was Smith who was actually meddling.
The Senate is scrambling to avoid a third government shutdown under President Trump as a deal to fund the DHS takes shape. Senate Republicans calling Democrat demands a partisan wish list, but Senate Majority Leader John Thune signaled that the back and forth between Democrats and the White House was a good sign of negotiations moving forward. Meanwhile, House Republicans continue to call out Democrats for their stance on the funding of DHS. This is House Majority Leader Steve Scalise.
Democrats want open borders. Democrats want mass amnesty, and they're willing to shut the government down and wreak havoc with the American people to do it.
The alleged multi-million-dollar fraud scandal in Minnesota is coming under focus at a Capitol Hill hearing today. This comes as evidence of stealing taxpayer money in the state continues to emerge. Steve Harrigan has more from Minneapolis.
People actually coming here from other states to defraud the city and the state. That's what happened with 2 men from Philadelphia. They came here to Minnesota, used AI to build a fake medical services company with fake clients. They billed the state out of millions of dollars before being caught, and we are seeing a much greater effort from local law enforcement to try and calm things down here, especially when it comes to these blockades people are setting up outside their neighborhood. They took apart at least 11 blockades over the weekend. People also getting fed up, calling the city saying, we want these blockades out of our neighborhood.
Vice President J.D. Vance briefly spoke to reporters about the latest round of talks between the U.S. and Greenland, saying the talks are still early regarding the future of the island country, adding it holds an important role in the U.S.'s future.
Greenland is very important to the national security of the United States of America. I do think that some of our allies have underinvested in Arctic security. And if we're going to invest in Arctic security, if we're going to basically pay a lot of money and be on the hook for protecting this massive landmass, I think it's only reasonable for the United States to get some benefit out of that.
What does the Bible teach about life, and how can we defend it in a culture that is growing more supportive of abortion? As Chris Woodward explains, a new curriculum aims to help answer these and other questions.
The curriculum is from Students in Action, a ministry looking to raise a new generation of pro-life leaders. Talking about this on American Family Radio, Stuart Kellogg of Students in Action said it's not easy being pro-life today.
States such as Alabama and Mississippi basically have outlawed abortion. Unfortunately, the reality is thousands still go on because of the new chemical abortion, because of, we actually have groups in New England sending abortion pills to red states, particularly for that issue.
Meanwhile, Kellogg said that 2 out of 3 Americans and nearly half of Christians believe abortion should be legal at some point.
And let's add one more thing. It is a political loser. I'm not talking in the Deep South. You have to be pro-life. Sure. Nationally, it's a political loser. We have gone, John Stonestreet from the Colson Center uses this term, we've gone from a pro-life, pro-choice, 2-party choices to now a pro-abortion, pro-choice, 2-party choices. The Republican Party is basically a pro-choice party.
That does not change anything about the need to keep babies and their mothers from abortion. In the curriculum, Students in Action gets into worldview, the truth about abortion, when life begins, the history of abortion, and the history of the pro-life movement. This is meant to be taught alongside or with a pregnancy resource center, and it's set up for either a church or Christian school. I'm Chris Woodward.
More news online at afn.net. And download the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty P.
Every day, AFA offers biblical insight on issues that others aren't willing to touch in the hopes that you'll become a world changer. That's why we're offering an in-depth worldview training course called Activate. 13 different professors teaching 18 sessions, all available online, including a printed workbook to help you apply what you've learned and 1-year access to AFA streaming content to give you even more resources. Find out more about Activate and sign up today at activate.afa.net.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildmon, president of the American Family Association.
Welcome back, everybody, to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Wesley, Ray. Ray's in Florida. We're in Mississippi, and in studio with us today is our colleague Steve Paisley Jordahl. Good morning, Brother Steve.
Good morning, everybody.
Donning a black shirt with all kind of fish on it.
Yeah,
right?
I was looking at these fish. I was trying to say, I don't. Are you a fisherman?
I do enjoy fishing. Those are going to be.
So there's some rainbow trout, a coho salmon, and I don't know what you call this guy.
Yeah, real close to like a.
That's a grouper, I think.
Grouper.
I think.
So.
Yeah, Steve's got all kind of tasty fish on his shirt today.
This is my school shirt.
School shirt.
Get it? Get it?
The school of fish.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, I was 3 seconds behind Wesley.
For those watching, it looks
you
like
get
a
that
school
joke?
of fish.
I did
Right?
not. I
No.
did not. Slower than that.
So Steve does. Steve does. He is for those watching on our Facebook or YouTube or our own streaming AFA. Streaming.afa.net.
Stream.afa.net.
Stream.afa.net or YouTube or Facebook. Today's issues page. Steve has got his shirt on with the fish
And
going
we
on.
encourage all of you to comment, to log on and comment. I'll take all the comments, suggestions.
Steve's a popular guy. When people come by here to visit us from around the country, they want to see Steve Paisley Jordahl.
That's happened before, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why. They go home disappointed every time. That's a different story.
Well, you wear a Paisley shirt about 3 days a week, two days a week.
I try to keep up the
image.
Keep the image going, yeah.
The image. Hey, by the way, before we jump into whatever topic you have for us, Steve, I wanted to ask you guys just your thoughts. And Steve, I'll start with you. We haven't talked about this hardly at all, but a big national story right now is the mother of Savannah Guthrie, the NBC Today Show co-host.
Yeah.
It's been all over the news for the last, 4 or 5 days?
It's been, it's a week. It happened Saturday night she got kidnapped, if it's kidnapping.
Yeah, her mom
A week ago,
her mom in Arizona went missing from her home.
Savannah Guthrie is an NBC host, so people know her. And they feel like they kind of, you feel like you invite them into your home through TV. You kind of feel like you know them, so there's some sympathy there.
It's a Today Show. It's very, very well known show, has been forever. But Ray, have you been following this at all?
We have watched hours of the coverage.
I feel so bad. We all do. We feel so terrible for Savannah Guthrie and her siblings. They're getting no privacy hardly. Of course, I guess they're feeling like they have to be public somewhat to try to, if their mom is still alive, get them back from the kidnappers, if that's what happened.
You know, you always have hope in those first few hours.
Right.
But now, how many days have passed, and there's been evidently no, quote, proof of life.
Right.
So then the mind just says, you don't want to say out loud what you're thinking.
Yeah.
But
and she was on medication too.
She's 84 years old, Tim.
Yeah, that's what everybody's wondering is what would be the motive for someone to kidnap an 84-year-old woman?
Well, they got to figure that Savannah Guthrie's probably making some good money.
Oh, well, that's true. That's true. But
financial.
But has there been proof of?
No, but you don't ever give up on that kind of stuff.
Has there been proof that it was a legitimate ransom offer?
No, not to my knowledge.
Not offer, ransom
demand. Not to my knowledge. I have a story running today about this, and one of the things that I'm talking about is the fact that we have 3 or 4 24-hour news channels that they're doing their best, Ray, you probably can attest to this, try to fill all 24 hours with this story, and there's just not that much news, so you keep hearing things over and over.
There's nothing new in the last few days.
Right, and then you keep hearing people's best guess at things and everything, and I might as well say this, as long as we're talking about it. The National Crime Information Database received over 300,000 reports annually. It gets 300,000 reports annually from missing persons under the age of 18.
Yeah,
well,
but I
want about all of them.
But I want to know how many are in their 80s.
Right. Yeah.
Now I'm not talking about people who go wandering off or get lost because they have dementia.
Right.
I'm talking about people that are kidnapped or abducted, especially out of their bed in their home.
Yeah.
I've nenever heard of that before. Ever.
No. And I mean, was this a robbery that went bad and turned into a kidnapping?
Right.
Was this intended to be a kidnapping and ransom situation? If so, where is Nancy? Where is she now?
Right.
And I think with every passing hour, it gets grimmer and grimmer. It must be awful, unbearable for the family.
Imagine.
I have not followed it as closely as some of y'all have, but it's just hard to imagine with all the resources that's put toward it at this point that they don't have any more answers than they do.
Well, I don't know. The cameras are missing. It's just so many unanswered questions. Usually, there's in a crime case like this, or a crime scene, or there's cameras somewhere that caught somebody doing something, or driving close by, or a car in the neighborhood. Or, there's something, or there was a motive from somebody who maybe somebody had been in an argument with somebody. I don't know, but it just
that's what I'm saying. There's
it's a mystery.
Yeah.
Complete mystery. All right. You are listening to today's issues. Steve, first story.
Well, did you guys have a good time watching the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Kind of boring.
It was a little bit of a boring game.
As far as a football game goes, unless you're really into defense.
Well,
I like defense, but I like to see some touchdowns scored.
You want to know someone who probably didn't have as good a time as you might imagine? That would be winning quarterback Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold.
But he won the Super Bowl. He's going to Disney World.
Yeah, but
I'm going to Disney World.
So we like to tease Ed about being from Massachusetts. Sometimes they call that state Taxachusetts because of its ridiculous taxes. California has its share of ridiculous taxes. One of them being that it taxes professional athletes for playing games in their state. Sam Darnold actually lost money playing in the Super Bowl.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not.
And
I'm gonna
not right.
Listen to cut 10.
For winning the Super Bowl, the winning team, each player gets $178,000. In other words, the Super Bowl isn't a part of their salary. And because the game was played in California, and California has a jock tax, and they look at duty days. So each team spends 7 days in the state of California. So those are 7 duty days, and they pierce your regular salary at 3.5%. So he has to pay, when you take into account he got the $178,000 plus his overall salary, he has to pay the state of California for spending 7 days there $249,000. It ends up costing him $71,000 to go play in California.
That is Boomer Esiason.
So he gets taxed on his salary, even though seemed like to me the only fair way to do it would be to be taxed on the bonus that he won for winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no.
Is that?
That would make sense, but that's
what Boomer Esiason there is saying.
He lost money by winning the Super Bowl, right?
He lost by playing in California. Now,
yeah.
Boomer also points out that the Seahawks play twice a year in California home games. They play the Rams and they play the 49ers, which are both in their league, in their division. So they play there not only for the 7 days that he was in Santa Clara for the Super Bowl, but he spent another 2 days each probably in, and so it's just.
I got so many questions. I'll go with one. So does he? It sounds to me like that this would happen regardless of whether he played in the Super Bowl. It just so happens he got a bonus this time. Is it true though that he gets taxed every time he plays in California?
Yes, every professional athlete does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why. Sometimes it costs the California professional teams. I know the player, the superstar,
Shohei Ohtani. I know where you're going with this.
Ohtani.
Just taking point too. There are other people doing what he's doing. Go ahead though.
Yeah, he plays for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's widely considered the top, if not one of the top two
The
or
GOAT.
three.
He might be the GOAT.
Yeah, in
For my generation.
At least for right
Yeah,
now, for
good for
Major
now.
League Baseball. And he's from Japan, plays for the Dodgers, and he has taken a lot less money.
Taking like 10% now, and he's deferring 90%.
He's deferring it because he doesn't want to be taxed with California. Is that right?
That's right. He's deferred. He'll get his 90. The other 80 to 90% of his salary he'll get after he retires.
Right, because
Wow.
because he didn't want
Wow.
to pay. Yeah, because it's a smart move, really.
Yeah.
Well, because listen, if California taxes were reasonable, like
He wouldn't
so
do
many
that.
others, like a lot of states, you wouldn't have to do that. But they just now they're having some kind of a deal where California, where they're going after the billionaires, trying to force them to pay like 5% or 3%. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's not that much, but the billionaires are revolting.
Yeah.
The revolt of the billionaires. They're moving. They're getting out because basically they're saying this is robbery.
Yeah.
You're just robbing us.
Sure.
And so.
So what I'm looking at here, and I'm looking now at the Sam Darnold's loss, the quarterback for Seattle.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, while this may seem a little bit confusing, the bottom line is he lost $71,000 from playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that'll show you. You don't need to be playing the Super Bowl anymore.
Yeah, quit that.
Actually,
Stop
I think it's because it was in the state of California.
Sure, yeah,
I think every state taxes, but California probably is onerous in its
Now
tax.
he is I don't know if he's a resident of California, but he did grow up in Southern California.
That's right,
But it would seem to me if his residency is in the state of Washington, which by the way their taxes are probably not much better.
Yeah,
they're all that left coast out there is.
And we're not saying he's unusual. I mean, Steve, all the players lost money.
That's
right.
Is that real? Are y'all kidding me on this?
No.
Is this true?
That's true.
Now I think the biggest comparison here is because, and the reason this is as much of a story than it would be any other game, is the fact that he got a bonus for winning or playing the Super Bowl. The bonus he got, the point that they're making is once you take out a tax of that, that's where you get the $71,000 loss.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you guys, whiplash topic
Yeah.
whiplash right here.
Please
Is
do.
ICE going to survive as an
yeah.
agency, or are they going to have to shut down? The Department of Homeland Security, they're about to be unfunded. Am I right?
Well, that's the battle going on right now. There's a government shutdown pending over this, and they are having hearings. They want to. Democrats want to defund and completely abolish ICE. I don't think they'd have to replace it with something. I mean, you have to have law enforcement.
I don't think the Democrats would.
They may
I don't think a majority of Democrats care whether we have any borders or enforcement of anything. I don't think they care.
That's true, but they're not in charge.
There are laws, though, on the books, and I think you would have to be able to. I think constitutionally, you have to have ability to prosecute your laws.
Yeah, to execute the law, prosecute and execute the laws. Well, I just, we have sanctuary states, sanctuary cities. They don't care about those laws.
No.
So I just don't think that.
Yeah, I'm sure ICE will make it.
I'm not trying to indict all Democrats, but I think the vast majority of Democrats, they don't want borders. So I mean, we're on stolen land, and they don't want borders. They don't want anybody enforcing immigration laws because they don't believe in the immigration laws. So and ICE is under siege. They've been involved in 2 deaths in Minnesota. They got a lot of publicity, and a lot of people, hold ICE accountable for those deaths. Those are still under investigation. But I'm just saying that they're under. Even Trump's backing off, saying they need a softer approach.
That's what he said. Oh, by the way,
so they're under siege. I'm talking about ICE is.
Since you mentioned it, we should probably do this. We haven't done this in a long time. I want to acknowledge that we are doing this talk show on the ancestral homeland of some rednecks.
No, we hadn't reminded people that in a while.
Frank Turek at the beginning of our show had a good point. He said, "How can anything be stolen land unless you had borders?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, of course, nobody's ever accused people on the left of being intellectually consistent.
No.
Sure.
But that's what they, a lot of them, we're on stolen land, but yet they don't want to give theirs back.
No.
And I don't see anybody going back to their homeland. Nobody's going back to Europe or Africa or anywhere else.
Well, Rosie did for a bit.
Yes,
but
she
she
did
came
for
back.
a little while, and Ellen DeGeneres for a few
Yeah.
months. But then the British it was too cold and wet, I think, so she decided Trump's okay if I can go back to sunny California.
That's right.
So anyway, it's just the whole thing's ridiculous. It's everything they do is to target the white people of European descent. That's really the only thing that they care about. How can we diss white people?
Yeah.
It seems to be their target all the time, even from the white liberals.
Not a racist.
White guilt. And all this. Yeah, it's just like every day, all day, and it's like, stop it already, right?
Sure.
Right.
Okay, if you're gonna be a singer at the Grammys, saying we're all on stolen land, Ray.
Right.
And then you live in a gated community with a multi-million-dollar mansion in California.
Yeah, we're not going to pay any attention to what you have to say.
You're not giving your land back
to
the Indians who lived there many years ago. And we know who they are because they came forward. Their tribe leader did. And I've said this before, for the people who go, well, we're on stolen land, talking about here in North America, okay? Of course, they don't ever talk about anything else in the world.
Or any other country.
Any other country. It's always the United States, and the Europeans came over here and stole the land from the Indians. Okay. Well, first of all, guess who stole that land from the Indians in the first place?
Other Indians?
The other
Indians. Good guess.
The other Indians.
Got that school shirt on.
So the Indians who were here, Native Americans, did not live in peace and tranquility amongst each other. They warred over what? Land. Always, and did for as long as they were here. So when the Europeans came over here, it was nothing different. It was just they said, we're in too.
Yeah, and Europeans were just a little bit better at it because they've been doing it in Europe for eons.
So, the whole thing is...
And there was a lot of the lands that were purchased. They were bought.
Absolutely. Yeah, they were bought. They were bought from the Native Americans who were in that region, in that area. Were Native Americans mistreated in history? Yes, they were. But as I say, nothing's clean and pretty in history when you're talking about war and land and battles and land grabs and this people do this to this people and then those people retaliate.
History's a messy thing, Tim.
That's the history of the world.
That's right.
That's the history of the world right there. You go back and read the wars that went on between the Europeans. Just brutal, barbaric. Same thing in Africa and same thing in Asia. I mean, it's just been that way since man was able to get a weapon and start attack. And land has been the major reason for wars over time. Yep. Probably the number one reason I would for think. Wars.
Acts chapter 17:26 says, He made from one man every nation of mankind to live on all the face of the earth, having determined their appointed times and the boundaries of each nation.
Boundaries, Wesley?
Yeah, so
you're for a boundary?
Wouldn't want to quote the Bible there.
Wow.
On a serious note, I wrote an 800-word article on this. I was on the stand. That's where I used that portion.
You wrote it on what?
The boundaries and nations and how God cares about it.
Okay, where can people read that?
On the stand, afa.net. I'll send it over.
Put it on our Today's Issues Facebook page?
I think Brent will do that for us. I'm getting ahead now. Yeah, Brent's going to do that for us. God still cares about each nation. Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Steve.
Next story, Steve.
All right. There is a potentially landmark case that's winding its way through the California court systems.
I like the way you now changing the word land.
Yes.
We're talking about land, and now you've changed it
to landmark.
A landmark case.
That's
where
right.
Where is this?
In California.
Oh, yeah.
And Meta and Google are in court, and they are being accused of intentionally making their social media apps addictive. And so you remember the tobacco lawsuits back in the 80s and 70s? They tobacco, nicotine was found to be addictive. And, well, God made nicotine addictive. They're saying that the people who programmed and wrote the code for YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, made them addictive on purpose.
Yeah.
And I want to play, this is cut from Dan Schneider, who is with the Media Research Center. I talked to him yesterday. This is a story running on AFN Today, cut 8.
This first bellwether case, the allegation is that these social media companies intentionally designed the product to entice and addict young people to it. So it's intentional harm. I have seen how these tech platforms have specifically hired psychiatrists, psychologists, neuroscientists. And so the allegation is that these people have been hired specifically to figure out how to hook kids and adults on the platform. Some of the accusations relate to how casinos will have machines that have the beeps and the buzzers and the bells, like a reward system, a gaming system that the human mind turns into an irresistible effort, to keep the focus. The conservatives in particular have been shouting at these big tech platforms about all the things that they've been doing wrong to harm us. And they've ignored us. They're going to get what they deserve.
The addiction has led to depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, actual suicides, eating disorders, substance disorders, sextortion.
Yeah, but can't you just turn it off?
Well, it's addictive. That's the thing. You can, but...
I don't see how that's a crime, though.
I don't either. That's the whole idea. Listen...
I think it's a problem. I think it's incentive.
Yes, it is.
I think it's a
screen time, and especially for children, can be addictive.
Yeah, we got to limit it.
Yeah, you got to limit it, and I do believe that those companies
do it on purpose.
But
I do.
But television used to want every company wants your attention all the time if you'll give it to them, so they can sell more ads for more dollars. I mean, that's this.
Well, they're being
the way it works
with being subversive about it.
Okay.
So that
Well, we'll see where that goes. But who amongst us hadn't had the internet and you start searching something and then an hour later you're going, what am I?
Where did my hour go?
Where did my hour go? And what did I start looking for?
Yeah, that's right.
Here I am.
Started here and I'm over
now
here.
I'm reading about the life of Kevin Bacon.
Bacon.
I started out
bacon.
trying to read about how to cook, best way to cook bacon, and here I am on the life of Kevin Bacon. So it's anyway. I do think that a lot of these social media websites and are by nature addictive and
by design is what they're saying.
By design, yeah, that's true. I don't know if that's a crime or not.
We'll find out.
But anyway, I think that's. Can certainly take your focus away from what you should be doing, and in some cases, for Christians, take your focus away from God.
Yeah.
And all right, so Ray, thank you so much, brother.
You bet. Thank you, Tim.
Ray Pritchard. I want to thank Ray, Wesley, Steve, Brent Creeley, our producer and board operator, and Cole Green, who our camera operator.
That article's up now.
Okay, your article that you wrote about borders is up where? On our Facebook page? So go to Today's Issues Facebook page.
A lot of scripture there.
Good deal. All right, thanks to who else was on? Chris Woodward, Frank Turek.
That's all.
I want to thank my doctor.
That's right. For getting you here.
For getting me here, getting me out of the office.
If you just hand me that doctor.
Get me out of the clinic, getting that blood work done.
We'll turn that doctor's excuse in.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow, everybody.